I think we're good to start. So if I can just ask everyone to go on mute, that would be really helpful with the recording. Welcome to the Viva Podcast for the month of July. And the month of July is all about business strategy here at the Viva Coach Experience. And I'm so excited to start this month with the podcast with Rupert. I am the Viva Coach, your life coach for women and business coach for all. And like I said, tonight we're going to kick off the month of business strategy with a special guest, Rupert, a renowned business strategist and a creative mind behind the world that you're in today as well. So Rupert, I'm going to turn to you for a quick intro. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience in business strategy, and then we're going to roll on from there.
Sure. So my name is Rupert. I've been in the metaverse since December of 2021. Really just came in here as a creator, but realized there were other opportunities to help creators find their creativity and kind of help them formulate and put their plans together. In this space now, I conduct myself as a metaverse strategist, meaning that I can help creators achieve their VR goals, but I can also help businesses transition into the space and explain how the metaverse can benefit them and expand their brand on an entirely new platform. Some of my experiences, I have a pretty long career in fashion, music, photography, some graphic arts. I've worked in the corporate structure for a while, and recently I was part of the team that helps the biggest automotive company in the United States figure it out and how to get our product into the hands of people in a more effective and concise way. So, yeah, I'm a man of many tools. I was compared to a Swiss Army knife yesterday, and I thought that was interesting because that's pretty accurate. Yeah, I do a little bit of everything and focus on a lot.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, you do. But I think one sort of a common thread, if I can find in all of that, is the right strategy and doing it in a way which sort of, leads to that success. So, which is why I think sort of, I certainly see you as an SME in the space of business strategy and everything related to making your business success, right? Which is absolutely fantastic. Before we sort of dive into that first question, and we'll start off, with a little bit of basics for those who are sort of, just starting to learn more about what a business strategy means, etc. I always use an analogy when I talk about business strategy, and I always say, think about it as GPS in your car, right?
Yes,
it's sort of, it kind of sets the vision, sets the goal where you're going. It keeps you on the right path while you're taking that journey. It helps you with any sort of, roadblocks that you might see, and then also sort of help you with alternative routes to try and get to your destination. So it's a good way to think about your business strategy in that way. But Rupert, how would you define business strategy, and why do you think it's crucial for businesses of all sizes? Because another thing is sometimes I think small businesses think that they can perhaps do this from sort of, their mental capture of what they want to achieve. So how would you define business strategy, and why do you think it's critical for all sizes of business?
Yeah, so oddly enough, I describe it exactly how you do. Maybe not as eloquently, but I always tell people to look at me like a navigation system, because as a strategist, I'm here to make your journey more concise, more direct, and hopefully provide some sustainability and longevity, which is really why you need a strategy. Because we can do anything that we want to do, and if you try hard enough and work long enough, you can get to wherever you're going. And the analogy that I use is, if you're driving cross country from New York to California, eventually you'll get there if you're heading in the right direction. But how long will it take you, right? So as a strategist, I know that I may have a more direct route for you to get there, but in the same time, get there on your own terms and not necessarily through my vision, but through yours, which I think is really important. And every business at some point should have a strategist. I don't care if you're starting day one or if you've been in the business for 100 years. There has to be a roadmap of the things that you want to accomplish, but also direction and organization in order for you to get there. Or sometimes you're just going to be spinning wheels and wasting money, and unfortunately wasting a lot of time, which is something that we can't recapture.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so important to have the right components within your business strategy as well. So really think through it and work through it. And how you articulate your business strategy kind of almost defines the level of success you will be able to achieve with that, right? And as leaders and entrepreneurs and business owners yourself, it's also extremely, extremely important to keep your messaging simple when you are doing the strategy. Because another thing is a bit of a misconception, right, but that, people think they often have to have these big words or big ideas in their strategy. strategy, etc. But actually, if you keep it simple, every single person who comes across your strategy gets it, they understand it, and they value it. The another thing that I often talk about is sort of, when you're doing the messaging around your strategy, to rather than using deductive style, where you first kind of tell all the different facts and then say therefore or the reason, use more inductive style so that you actually lead with why you're doing it and then go into the what and a how. So it's a really good framework to keep in mind as you work through your business strategy, is the why, what, how, because I've personally found that super, super, super helpful. So what are the key elements then, do you think, Rupert, that makes a successful business strategy, and therefore sort of, businesses should be including that as part of that strategy?
Yeah, so oftentimes starting a business, you kind of have an idea what you want to do. I think the more people people that have spent time really analyzing their businesses know more directly what they want to do. But for the most part, it starts with a vision. You kind of know what you want to achieve. You may not necessarily always know how to do it, or who to surround yourself with when you want to get there. But it always has to start with a vision. There is something that you want to portray to the public, whether a service, a product, or a feeling, whatever business that you're in, because a strategy applies to everything that we do, right? It's not particular to one particular industry. It's something that transcends for anybody who's formulating a business or just life, right? Even planning a vacation, I know you're back from a vacation. You didn't just go there and show up and say, when I get there, this is what we're going to do, right? It was kind of probably planned out a little bit.
Oh God, you should see my itinerary, Rupert. You should see my itinerary and the spreadsheet that sits behind it.
I can imagine. I can imagine knowing what a detailed and orientated person that you are. But so I always say, so when my process is when I sit down with somebody and I hear what they have to say, the first thing as a strategist is I don't necessarily want to implement a strategy based on how I move and the things that I'm capable of, because people approach me at different levels and skill sets, right? So it's not the people who have just been in business for 30 years. Sometimes it's the people that are just recognizing that they may be able to formulate a business from what they're doing. And so from that point, I hear their vision, and then I really want to articulate their vision through their eyes and the things that they're capable of and the things that they can achieve, because the small successes lead to bigger successes. I don't want to listen. I can give you a very detailed strategy which will last for the next 5 years, but if you're just starting, let's just get to tomorrow. Get through today and get to tomorrow first, and work it that way. And the more you're able to accomplish, right, those small wins create confidence for you to try bigger things and not get too discouraged, as this business of being an entrepreneur is difficult. It's glamorized on social media. It looks fantastic. And all you need is an EIN number and a dream and you'll become a millionaire. And it is nothing like that whatsoever. You're going to fail a lot more than you win. And if we have to change the strategy along the way, then we'll do that. We'll try and see what works, but don't always put your strategy and make it think that it's set in stone, because it's not. It's going to be very organic as you learn and grow, and your ideas around the business change. Shows you the strategy.
100%. I love what you've just said there. It's so important to stay agile. In today's world, there is no business strategy that you're going to develop for 5 years. And for 5 years, you'll be on that roadway, pathway without any changes at all. I mean, look at what COVID did, right? It literally changed business models overnight for businesses. And anyone who had a 5-year strategy would not have been able to continue on that same pathway. So just be agile and be comfortable with being agile, like, Rupert suggested as well. Having a strategy and long-term plan does not mean that it's set in stone in any shape or form. What it means is that you have clarity of where your business is going, but as the market changes, that you continue to change with that. Because another thing that I often see is, Rupert, another thing that I often see, Rupert, is that people often set that strategy and they don't visit it back. So it almost gathers dust, which is also not the right thing. So if you think about different components of your business strategy, it has a marketing plan in there, right? It has everything about your customers, your consumer behaviors. It has everything to do with your financials, etc. And I know we've got 2 financial experts in the audience today as well, Gidius and Jen. So I know you would appreciate this as well. These are not components that stay still for 5 years in a 5-year strategy. You have to continue to evolve and move with it. So that's really great what you've just said there, Rupert.
Yeah. Let's talk about the COVID thing really quickly, because obviously that was a once in a lifetime event, right? I don't don't think any of us have ever lived through a true pandemic before, and it really changed the way we conducted business. But
Yeah.
on a more, if you think about outside of COVID and just how the market and the financials and technology is changing, like what we did 5 years ago is going to be completely different 5 years from now because of the
Absolutely.
implementation of AI and technology. Like the way
Mm-hmm.
we restructure our businesses now are really going to be determined whether or not we have, the implementation of AI and the technologies we use, or we don't. And that really could make the difference of being able to survive in the future and no longer being able to exist. I mean, I think we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing it, unfortunately, now with a company like Apple, right? Apple's
Yeah.
been, the most profitable, biggest company for a while now, but they haven't innovated quickly enough now, and they're getting
Yes.
left behind, right? I think they've
Mm-hmm.
fallen down to like number 3 behind Nvidia and Microsoft now, and
Yeah.
even their cell phones, right? I mean, I have an iPhone, but my iPhone, in comparison to some of the other products on the market now, my phone isn't innovative anymore. It's actually not even the
Mm-hmm.
best phone on the market anymore. And I don't know what their strategy was based around it, or why they decided to wait so long to enter the game, but their last delivery was a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about things that have been around for a year and a half now, and you're just starting to implement it. And, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what the strategy is behind that. And if they're just relying on being loyal, there are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
companies that had a loyal following that no longer exist. Pan
Oh
Am
God,
doesn't exist
absolutely.
anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
TWA, like
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
these
yeah.
things that were staples that aren't here anymore, right? No
Yeah,
one is too big
absolutely.
to fail if you don't have a plan to move forward.
Absolutely. And especially the space that we operate in, emerging technology space, your strategy's got to move
Yeah.
with it quite quickly, right?
Oh
I mean,
man,
Apple
quickly.
Intelligence, great news, and everyone was celebrating it, but it came a little
Yeah.
too late in the day, really,
Yeah.
didn't it? So, you kind of, you do question with someone who is a gigantic business
Yeah.
success to why there's such a lag in terms of coming to
Yeah.
market with some of these things. But that's why business strategy is really important, because it helps you to get in the market at the right time, at the right point, when the customers are ready to take the products or the services that you're offering. And it's really important. I mean, you've gone back to that COVID point, Rupert, and I remember at the time I was working with my government and health industry clients as a management consultant, and you know what, I was working on their digital transformation strategies, etc., and they all had these 5, sort of, even some of them 7-year strategies for
Right.
digitizing fully, across the whole operations that they had.
Right.
And with COVID, that literally went to bin, and it all happened overnight.
Yeah.
Majority of those things in their
Yeah.
digital worlds, right? There's some
Gone.
updating the systems and things. Yes, it took a little bit longer, but essentially, if I was to go to any one of those government departments at the time and say, why don't you introduce working from home in this way, because the
Yeah.
benefits we know, right? They would be like, no, 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 we're not ready as a firm, we need to do X, Y, and Z. And then COVID
Right.
happened, and we all did it.
You were forced to do it.
So
Yeah.
exactly, we were forced to do it. So that is exactly why we should have the room in our strategy to be able to maneuver quickly and
Yeah.
and think about it. 5-year strategies for something that you can actually achieve in shorter time, that's a lot of money invested over a period of time,
Absolutely.
which you can save and invest and inject into your business growth and
Yeah.
success instead. So there's so much of that. I mean, we've talked about the rapid in advancement in AI and technology just
Mm-hmm.
here now. How should businesses adapt their strategies to stay competitive then? What do you think some of the key points that they should be keeping in front of their head as they're developing their strategy, thinking about some of this emerging tech and AI landscape?
Yeah, so let's use that navigation analogy again. So one thing I like about certain navigation tools, right? I use Waze quite a bit. And one thing I like about Waze is as you're looking at the navigation screen, it lets you know what's happening up front. Like it lets you know if there's traffic, it lets you know if there's a car pulled over on the road, it lets you know if there's an accident coming. And I think, in providing a strategy or following your strategy, you have to be really aware of what's happening around you. I think one of the things, for my own personal success that has made me valuable in this space is because I not only understand the space, but I pay attention to what's going on. I'm very involved in some of the chats that happen behind the scenes. I know sometimes what the updates are coming. I can see trends coming, sometimes a little further out than most people. So when people come to me with an idea, I can give them, another outlook and say, hey,
Yeah.
maybe you should try this because, I innately know already that their idea is something that's either not going to be available to them to many anymore because the technology is changing,
Yeah.
or just something that's been tried that didn't really gather a lot of interest. And not to say that it can succeed, right? But if I know somebody's tried something 10 times and no one's really interested, then I'm not really going to guide somebody down that road knowing that it's going to be really, really hard to make a difference, right? And that's not to say that you shouldn't try it, because doing the hard things are what really make a difference. But just the understanding of the space and realizing kind of what the space is and what it gives to people, it's different, right? And every metaverse, as we talk about the metaverse, every metaverse is a little different. And this metaverse that we're in right now gives differently than some of the other metaverses, right? It is a very social, people-orientated space first, and then sometimes the business side of it comes second. And if you can marry those two, then an effective strategy may come out through that. But I have to understand the space I'm in and also understand where my client is going so I can guide them and give them the idea to think about, okay, well, what about this? And maybe you should implement this because this is how the space is changing. Because my strategy always has to start with a space of offering sustainability and longevity, and not just right now, because we're building businesses. We're not just having events. We're building for the long term. In an ever-evolving space, whatever long-term means right now, because I honestly sometimes don't know
how
what
do you even
long-term
define
means,
that
because,
anymore, right?
because technology is just moving really, really quickly, and we've gone from really 5 industry changing technologies in a space of 5 years, like from cryptocurrency, blockchain, AI, metaverse. Like all of these conversations have almost overlapped each other, where any one of those things individually is transformative to industry. It's already proven that, right? We've seen now what the US dollar's doing, and they've been dropped off the petrol scale, and that's moving to a digitized system. That's not, the US isn't going to be a part of that right now for not only financial reasons, but privacy reasons, right? There's always a question of what happens to our data electronically and how can it be controlled. But to think that, the US has been on that scale for the past 50 years and now they're not anymore, what would that do to the US dollar? What does the next 10, 15, 20 years look like? Because that's really when it's going to start taking effect and start impacting. And it's as scary as it is exciting, as it is wondering what the future holds when normal is not normal anymore.
I agree. And I mean, last month was artificial intelligence at the Viva Coach Experience. And, we did dig deep into all of that. And there's the other side of the coin as well. So I'll probably make a couple of points here for the audience as well. Stay ahead of the curve, learn new skills, get to know AI, absolutely 100%. But also don't get overwhelmed. Your strategy does not need every single AI tool that's out there.
No,
you just need to hone down to what is your business, where can you add value using AI to support and enable success in your business. And that's really, really important part. And second point I'm going to make, you actually touched on that from a data point of view, is trust. So as you are embedding the whole idea of technology, emerging tech, AI, however you sort of, build that into your business strategy, ensure that you do it in a trusted way so your customers can trust how you are actually going to implement and embed that within your business as well. Because trust goes a long, long way. Trust is one of those elements in a business that creates sustainability in terms of success. So yes, you may see success short term, but actually if your business is not building that trust with your customers in the market, then you will not be in the market too long. And that's just the reality of it, right? So we do need to ensure that we do, look at all of those different point of views as well.
And for me, trust relates to consistency, right? Because if you consistently show up and you show up the same way, from a reliable standpoint, because just showing up every day can manifest itself in different ways, right? You can show up every day, and I can think of a lot of companies that I probably would never do business with because I don't trust them, but they show up every day, right? So it's kind of marrying being consistent, having a good product or service, standing by the things that you say you're going to do on a consistent basis, and then just duplicating and repeating. And, one day turns into a month, and a month turns into 5 years, and hopefully 5 years turns into a decade or more.
Yeah, and there you go. And you kind of don't have to have answers to everything, right? That's why, professionals like Rupert are in the space, because where you may need to sort of reach out to someone to kind of go, right, I am thinking of X, Y, and Z for my strategy, but I don't know how to bring this into my business, make it a reality, reach out to my markets. Then that's where
Yeah.
you can reach out. So,
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur, we do wear a lot of hats most of the time. And
Yeah.
the reality of the fact is we don't have hundreds of people working on sort of, in different
Yeah.
teams for us, especially if you're a startup, you're kind of, making your way
Absolutely.
through things. So, but you knowing and creating a network of support around you, which is two-way street, then you
Absolutely.
can, help have SME support and help around you as well. So let's move to some of the pitfalls and the challenges that people often face when they are developing their business strategy.
Mhm.
What are some of the common mistakes do you think businesses make when they craft their strategy, and how do you think they can avoid it?
Yeah, I think one of the things, obviously we're in a very social media centric environment right now, right?
Yeah.
So we gain a lot of education from social media, and I don't necessarily always think that's a bad thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I think some people can get jaded about the experience because
Mm-hmm.
if if you rely on social media sometimes without the experience of an actual person, you don't know what the cons are with the industry that you may be venturing into, or even just how hard it is to develop and start a business.
Mm-hmm.
It is more than just getting an EIN and a website and saying that you're in business, right? There are so many factions
Yeah.
that you have to go through in order to be able to be sustainable and look for that longevity. So for me, it's some of the challenges as a strategist that I run into is people not seeing the value in having a strategist, which honestly,
Mm.
that's where it
Yeah.
starts, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We all have our experiences, we all say have our vision, and then eventually you may not invest the money for a strategist and say, well, I can kind of do this on my own. But again, you can drive from New
Yeah.
York to California without a
Mm-hmm.
navigation system also, right? So
Yeah.
having an experienced strategist, having someone in your corner who understands the space and people, you tap into more than just necessarily my words transferring into action for you, right? You're tapping
Mm-hmm.
into decades of experience. You're tapping into a well-crafted and managed network
Mm-hmm.
of people who are leaned on to for support, who can aid you eventually in your journey potentially, because I
Mm-hmm.
don't just surround myself with one type of person. I have my network is expansive in multiple genres. I know a lot of amazing people that do a lot of amazing things, and one of
Yeah.
those people at some point can aid you in your strategy, which if you don't utilize me, I would never say that you won't be able to meet those people, but I already know them, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
makes your job a little easier. um but really, I think you kind of touched on what you said. It's really kind of following the strategy. Like once you have that plan in place, because I tell you, I have provided some amazing advice to some really talented people, and they did it for a week and then decided now they're not going to do that, and then they get
Mm.
frustrated and say their business doesn't work or the space doesn't work when
Mm-hmm.
it truly does, right?
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely
Yeah.
does.
Mm-hmm.
I help people try to figure out a way to monetize in this space, and I hear continually that you can't make money on this space. But I had a class of 4 kids aged 12 to 16. I know you got to be 13 to be here, but they were in the class. But age 12 to 16, and we taught them how to build, how to script. I taught the business section of the class that they were in. We put a world together. We created some assets, and each one of those kids made $250 a piece in under 3 hours.
There you go.
So
It's
sometimes the
doable.
ignorance
It's
of not
doable.
knowing
Mm-hmm.
is the superpower. Sometimes you can know
Mm-hmm.
too much,
Mm-hmm.
and it holds you back.
Yeah, it's that fear factor as well, right? I
Yeah.
think that's right. And it's nothing's going to happen overnight, right? So you have to
No.
kind of stick with it, persevere, and sort of
Yeah.
work through that. Can you share with us a success story where a well sort of executed business strategy made a significant difference? I mean, you've just shared one piece of
Hmm.
success story there now, but in
Yeah.
terms of a business that's it can be in real life, it can be in metaverse, but I think it'll be great for us to hear a success story, right?
Yeah. Well, let's start in this room here, right? So, I look at Jen Smash, who's sitting in the audience, and one thing that's really important for me as I move through this space, as it relates to the metaverse, is I'm not going to be responsible for anything that you bring into the space, not your creativity, not your talent, not your experiences. All I am is a guide into trying to help you navigate in how to showcase what you do through your eyes
Mm-hmm.
and your vision, right? So Jen
Mm-hmm.
came in here curious, but with a ton of experience, probably one of the most experienced business people on the entire platform with her career, extremely
Yeah,
well
absolutely.
established, a complete understanding of her craft in a space that she didn't understand at all. So we talked about it, right? We talked about some of the things that I think might be effective for her. We talked about how she may be able to position herself with her experiences and some of the things that she's done and be able to tell her story and her journey through the space. But the way she wants to do it, not the way I want to do it, because it's not
Yeah.
my journey, it's not my story,
Yeah.
right? And, once she understood the space and then understood how, the nuances and the people, then, she spread her wings and obviously we know who Jen Smash is now, right?
She
She's an
really
amazing
has
talent.
spread her wings. She
Yeah,
really
yeah.
has. Let's get some
And even like
confetti in the air for
yeah,
this
let's get
one.
some confetti, right? And now she has the tools and she's equipped to move forward in this space confidently and then
100%.
provide the same for other
Absolutely.
people. And
Yeah.
I look at Afro the same way, right? I take no credit for the decades that she's been in the music business or the amazing work that she's done. And even in the space, because she came into the space kind of with a name already established, and it's really just
Absolutely.
helping her express her vision through creativity. Not so much the people part, because everybody knows who Afro and her energy in the space, but just kind of navigating the space and kind of presenting the
Yeah.
things that that she thinks would be beneficial for her brand, not what I think. Like, I can give suggestions and I can give ideas, but at the end of the day, it's really up to the person I'm working with to decide
Yeah.
what is best for them. Because listen, again, I can give you the best advice that I know will probably work if you stick to it. But if you're not comfortable working in that environment, then you're not going to be passionate about wanting to stay here or any
Yeah.
of the other business that you start, whether on the platform or back in the physical world.
Yeah, yeah. And you have to have that fire in your belly, and you should also know what fuels it as well, so you can
Yeah,
keep it going, right? As well. And I mean, your afro is absolutely fantastic example in that sense, because essentially, being so successful in real life and doing what your afro is doing in real life very, very successfully, then
yeah,
having a strategy that pivots and comes into this space to
right.
still sort of achieve the same level of success. It's absolute kudos and a real example in front of you all to how it's done as well. So
Yeah,
absolutely
and can I
fantastic.
just add to that real quickly? So I think some of the problem with people that operate in my position, right? Because I kind of act more as a consultant as
Of
well as a
course.
strategist. I think sometimes the issue lies in as a consultant and you advise somebody, like you present it from my eyes as opposed to your client's eyes, right? Because there are things in this space that I'm really good at and there's things that I'm not, that I just don't know, right? So I can't present what I know and the things I'm good at and reflect that on somebody else, right? So, using Jen as an example, right? I'm not going to tell her, okay, what you need to do is build a world that looks like this. So get into build mode, start creating. I need a building by 5 o'clock, right? She's not here to build, right? The physical action of building structures, right? She's here to build relationships with people.
That's right.
So that part of it, like me giving her advice on in those regards to physically get her to do that doesn't make any sense. Now we can talk about what type of environment you want, and I can either decide to pull out my Swiss Army knife and use that part of the tool to build it for her, or find a talented creator
Yeah.
who will align with her vision to get her point across, right? But that is where my network kind of comes in, to align her with the right people that understand what her vision is through her eyes, not necessarily through mine or the person building for her. So listen, sometimes we can do it without her knowing and it comes out great. And other times we can build it and it's just like, this isn't even what I wanted. We didn't even talk about this. This is not how I feel. I don't like spaces like this. Like I didn't understand her or what her mission was. But you have to be able to understand that by getting to know somebody, by understanding what their vision is and being able to present that through their eyes and not necessarily mine as a consultant.
And then the key there is that vision point as well, right? This is so
Mm-hmm.
so important. I mean, please, if you are going to spend some time before you do your strategy, there's a couple of things to really focus on, and that is, what are the pain points I'm trying to address through my business, and secondly,
Yeah.
how does that work in terms of me defining that vision very clearly as well. So
Yeah.
thank you for that, Rupert. And then, what's one personal strategy or a habit even you use daily that helps you to stay productive and focused on your strategy? Because clearly you're also an entrepreneur and a creator in this
Yeah.
space, and a very
Yeah.
successful one.
Yeah, so I tell you, I think you said it right from the very beginning, keeping it simple.
Yeah.
So for me, the way I operate my business and how I conduct myself is by my coin phrase, right? Create, love, inspire, and add value.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can do any one of those things at any given point during the day, hopefully all four things, and leave that with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
as when people well, it's partially branding, right? So I know we're going to be talking about branding this season also. Um, but you have to be kind of synonymous with something, right? So I don't want my brand to be synonymous with anything toxic or a negative experience, right? So even as I move through the space with any one of those four things, right? Create,
Mm-hmm.
which could either mean building or creating relationships, loving, which is not a romantic term, but really just giving somebody the encouragement and the support that they
Yeah.
need in a loving
Mm-hmm.
way. Inspiration, either through the way that I move through the space, how I conduct myself, or the advice that I may be able to give somebody, and adding value. Like, what can I
Mm-hmm.
leave that person that's going to feel them encouraged with the confidence to go ahead and hit that publish button, to start that business,
Mm-hmm.
to go on that journey, to take that first step.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for me personally and my brand, it is the most effective thing that I've been able to do, and also the most consistent thing that I've been able to do, because I
Yeah.
truly try to seek one of those things with every person I talk to, and that
Mm-hmm.
keeps me on my toes, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
now if I engage with somebody and I may not have done or felt like I have done that, like I'm cognizant of that. So even if it's I go back and I remember a conversation about a website or a tool that I use in AI, I'm going to email that person or DM them with the tool and offer that little piece of value. Or even
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just watching somebody's journey, seeing that they may be struggling through a situation, and just hitting them up randomly in a DM and say, hey man, I see you. What you're doing is amazing. Keep up the good work. I may suggest a person to reach out to. I may offer my services to that person myself if it's something I know that I can
Mm-hmm.
effectively
Mm-hmm.
help them get over the board. I don't have to be intimately involved to do any one of those things, right? But I leave a mark and a presence and hopefully a little innovation behind when I
Yeah.
interact with people like that. And that really is the core of my brand, because it's people centric.
And
Um,
you have an extremely strong brand, right? I remember coming into this space and a few people that I spoke to, and you're well aware I was looking to have this beautiful world built.
mhm.
And everyone that I spoke to, and they suggested yourself, they used the same terms, same language, same sort of that everything that you're about in a way which was very consistent. And
Yeah,
it was simple, and I could just get and hear what they were saying. And we've worked together on building this world,
yeah,
and again, I felt you took me through the complexity in extremely simple and clear way, and be
yeah,
able to sort of when I'm defining my vision, kind of almost as I'm saying things, you give me ideas and thoughts to start making that into a reality as we
yeah,
went through that as well. So I've literally seen and absolutely sort of advocate of how you do move in this space and how you do carry your brand, and it's very strong brand. And we started sort of in May the Viva Coach experience with personal branding as
yeah,
well, and that's it's extremely important to have that clarity, that consistency, and that
yeah.
constancy. And I talked about those 3 C's, and I see that in you all the time, which is
Well,
absolutely
listen,
fantastic.
I'm glad you brought that, because I love that, right? Because let me tell you, Viva put me through the ringer in this world. She was so demanding, but it was necessary. No, seriously, it was necessary, because the end result didn't come from my vision. It came from what you wanted, right? And
Oh,
even through the process, as I was building, I kind of had an idea what you wanted, and we sit down, we discuss the important things in the world, but even still, it was still kind of coming through my eyes and not necessarily completely yours. But we went back and forth, we crafted, we figured out what we can do. I mean, it wasn't a long process, and it wasn't a terrible process by any stretch of the
he's
means.
still on the couch, so clearly I did not put him off too much.
but what developed from it, right, was a collaboration with some of the things that I'm capable of doing with your vision, right? Because this
Yeah,
world is, even though it was built by me, this is your vision, this is your world. It's no longer mine, because this is every part of it, every step of it got your personal approval. And if it wasn't something that you didn't necessarily need or like, then we changed it, right?
you
And
did.
that's where the organic movement comes in, and
Mm-hmm.
being agile, as you like to use in this space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get hung up if you give somebody a strategy, but it isn't quite right for them, right? Because it's their strategy, it's not mine, and it's going to have to be organic because it has to fit what that person is, because I'm not on the journey with them. Right. Once the strategy is in place, yes, I may be involved in the business, but at the end of the day, that's your business, and you're going to go with it and fly, and I won't be involved.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to take ownership, right? You've got to take that ownership, and in your space as consultant, myself as well, and as a coach, you can advise, you can guide, you can show a pathway, you can create the roadmap and support that roadmap, but really the action comes from sort of doing that yourself.
Yours.
Absolutely,
at this point,
100%. Well, thank you so much. This does bring the questions part to the end, but I do want to mention my sponsor for this month. And then what we do on the podcast is, Rupert, which is my favorite part as well, is rapid fire round. And I'm really looking forward to the rapid fire round. Absolutely. So yeah, but before we do that, let me just share a little bit about Diamond Resilience. Boss Leo is in the room today. Absolutely fantastic. She's actually on desktop, which, Metaverse and emerging tech is offering us new opportunities, and she is absolutely embracing it. She's absolutely embracing it. So I'm super excited to bring you some incredible news from Diamond Resilience by bossleo.ai. Now, most of you already probably know about Diamond Resilience because, look, it's a popular business, it's a great business in this space. And if you're interested in venturing into metaverse, as a creator or an entrepreneur, then Diamond Resilience is absolutely and 100% for you. And Diamond Resilience is an elite network of creative entrepreneurs, and they're pioneering entrepreneurs in this metaverse space. And each month, Boss Leo, through the Diamond Resilience, operates the exchange, which I've been part of that myself. I can see so many in the audience who've been on that stage as well and have benefited from that process too. So from my audiences, for everyone in the room today, and I will post this out later as well, you have an opportunity through sponsorship from Boss Leo this month to feature in the exchange. So why not get featured on the upcoming showcase at the exchange? And when is it happening? Let me just double check. It's July 26th. It's July 26th when it's happening. So if you're interested, you want to contact Boss Leo. And also, Boss Leo has been absolutely gracious and very, very kind to offer a prize for a winner, one of you in the room today as well. She's offering you XR Immersed Creator Bootcamp. This is a 4-week immersive program, and it's perfect for early stage startup entrepreneurs and creatives. And I would say, even if you're thinking of pivoting or changing your business concept or strategy in some way, then again, this is a great 4 weeks program that you want to be part of. And what we'll do is, we've noted everyone that is in the world today and at this podcast, and I will announce the winner later on Instagram. So do look out for that post, because we'll do a random draw and one of you will be winning the 4-week program. And I'm so super excited for this, but I also want to do a special thanks to Boss Leo, Diamond Resilience, for putting this prize forward and for sponsoring this amazing month of business strategy as well. Now, there is also a special code, the Viva Coach code, that again I'll put on Instagram. If you are sort of falling into the Viva Coach experience, you will see the post. If not, hopefully you see it through shared. You can benefit from the program at a discounted rate of $45 instead of $450. That is a huge discount that Boss Leo through Diamond Resilience is offering to the wider audience as well. But don't forget, one of you will be winning that for absolutely nothing, absolutely free. So that is amazing. Now let's move on to rapid fire round.
Question:
Rupert,
does my name get thrown in that hat as a guest, or am I included in that prize offer?
Let's see, Boss Leo, what do you say? What do you say?
If not, I'll throw mine into the audience.
Awesome. Well, look, let's do this rapid fire round, because I know I've got regulars in this podcast as well. Don't we love this round? Don't we absolutely love hearing from our guest the rapid fire answers? So let's do this. Let's do this.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
What's the most unusual place you've found inspiration for a business strategy, Rupert?
Oh man. Wow, what a question.
Yeah, they're true rapid fire questions, aren't there? Yeah.
Gosh, you have me stumped. For once, I don't think I have an answer for that. I really don't.
Rapid fire,
but I'm a creative, so I can find inspiration in anything. Like seriously. I love animals, so I draw some inspiration sometimes from the animal kingdom. As weird as that sound, I'm a big sci-fi geek. I draw a lot of inspiration from sci-fi. If you've seen some
Mm-hmm.
of my worlds, you kind of see the pattern in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but I think honestly, I'm not going to say if it's unusual, but I'm really intrigued by people and their stories.
Mm-hmm.
Conversations, and I like talking to people on an individual basis as opposed to being in a really big group setting. And
Mm-hmm.
through those conversations, sometimes some amazing conversations come out, and the nostalgia sometimes that it leads us to inspires me a lot to help them with their creativity or just bring something that I've never seen before.
Love it, love it. You definitely are. You are a people person through and through, and that's something that I've witnessed so many times. If you could get strategy advice from an historical figure, who would that be?
Man, I tell you, I love the empire that Steve Jobs created. Not necessarily his actions, but I understand as a visionary, you
Mm-hmm.
have to kind of put everything in concrete terms,
Mm-hmm.
and it's difficult for people to be around true visionaries because they don't sway, they don't vary, they're very mindset. But just
Yeah.
his thoughts about what could be possible
Yeah.
with that technology was just amazing. I think if he was still here today, Apple would be a completely different company. I
I
think they'd
do
be
think so
I
too.
think they still believe in
Yeah.
the market with innovation.
Yeah.
He just has an amazing journey, and it was him, not necessarily people he bought technology from and hired to put around him. He was the
Mm-hmm.
core of Apple's innovation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Great answer. What's the quirkiest tool or method you've used to brainstorm a strategy idea?
Uh, Man, I tell you, so one of the things I encourage people to do in here, if
Mm-hmm.
they're looking to go into partnerships with people, and not just here, just in the physical world too, because we do this quite a bit. Um, Team building is something that we do in the physical world quite often, right? Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's not always things that we enjoy, but I always tell people in here, like, if you're thinking about partnering with somebody in here, go and play a game. And here's
Mm-hmm.
why I say that: you will learn a lot about a person by playing a scary game, a shooter game, because is the person that you plan on partnering with, are they going to jump in front of that bullet for you? Or when something scary appears, are they going to run away and not tell you? Are they going to hide behind you, stand next to you, or jump in front of you? And innately, as you're playing these games, that is the real person showing up before
That
they
is
try
so
and convince
true.
you that they're otherwise.
I love
Um,
that. I remember playing that. I can't even remember the name of the game now. Jen was
yeah.
there, Boss Leo. We were running and being scared of this big bunny thing and saving ourselves
yeah.
from it together. I
Yeah.
remember we stuck together and we were looking for Jen at one point because she was collecting all
Right.
the. She's good with games in here. I tell you,
Yeah.
she
Yeah. Which is
knows
funny
how this
because
stuff goes.
she said she'd never come in here and gaming, and that's all she does right now. So, uh, she is. We're
Oh,
watching
you've
you.
got to love
We're
it.
watching you.
It's part
Yeah,
of the
but
strategy.
that's
It's part
really
of the
that's
strategy.
really but honestly, but that really is a great way to figure out who a person is, because that person will show
Yeah.
you immediately who they are
Mm-hmm.
before you ever get into business. And we know when you get into business and things get tough,
Mm-hmm.
some people take off on you and they leave you
That's
holding
true.
the
Oh, God,
smoking
yes.
gun.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And if your business strategy had a theme song, and I know you're a big hip hop fan, and I know you work very closely with your afro, if your business strategy had a theme song, what
Yeah.
would it be?
Well, I tell you, so most of you probably won't know this song, but when I post my IG for when I go live, there's a song by an artist called KRS One called the MC, and basically the MC in hip hop means master of ceremony. That's the person that grabs a microphone and raps and kind of sets a tone for the party, and that's kind of how I look at myself, right? I'm a calm person, and so usually when people come around me, my energy can't be transferred into a common nature. I'm not a rah
Mm-hmm.
rah person. I'm a little older, so my knees can't handle doing all that stuff anymore. Um, but also, I don't necessarily am very loud and vocal with the way I control my narrative. But I think sometimes my energy kind of precedes that
Mm-hmm.
around me, right? So the MC is probably my theme song in all I do, because I feel like in my environment, I'm the MC of my own life, of my own business, of my
Love
own
it.
creativity, of my own
Love
mistakes,
it.
so of everything that I do. Yeah.
You're owning it all. Perfect. Lovely.
Yeah.
Great, great, great. Thank you so much. Look, Rupert, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights.
I appreciate
And
it.
I'm just so glad we had this conversation and got it recorded and shared with so many people, because I know you and me
Yes.
often have some
We have
amazing
these
business
talks. Yeah.
conversations, don't we? We do. And
We
you
get
know,
to do
I'll
it in
come into a
public now.
world, you're doing something in here, and we'll be like, oh, I just wanted to talk quickly on X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z. And 1 hour later, we're putting the world to rights. So, you know,
Well, you
so
know what?
I've
I
always
want to say
enjoyed it.
thank you too, man, because you've come in here with a different type of energy and a different kind of business presence. The work you do in your physical world, listen, it's going to take the metaverse a long time to catch up to what you actually do in the physical world. I mean, it's amazing your work that you do around women-centric causes and women in business, but also STEM, right? Because we know STEM is a very male-dominated industry, and what's so crazy about that is when you come into the metaverse, you realize that the women in the metaverse are STEM. Like honestly, the most successful brands and businesses in here are all owned by women. So there's an imbalance somewhere, which I see you
I mean,
trying
look at
to.
that couch right now.
Yeah,
Look at
yeah,
that couch right now.
yeah.
Woo!
The women in here are doing the most when it comes to business, and you know that divide you're trying to shorten with the work that you're doing on the outside. So
Oh,
we
thank you so
appreciate
much.
you
I
for that and the
appreciate
work you
it.
do in here.
It's my absolute passion, and something that sort of, you know, will always be right at front of my
Yeah.
mind. But thank you so much for recognizing that.
You're welcome.
Now,
You're welcome.
before we do wrap up, I want to just remind everyone about the upcoming Viva Masterclass on crafting your business strategy blueprint. It's on July 17th, 7 p.m. EST. I do it in Horizon World, and in 90 minutes, you will walk away with your business strategy blueprint in your hand. It'll be a draft, and yes, you can add more to it, but you will have a strategy to work from and to start from as well. So that is an amazing masterclass coming up. If you're interested, please do sign up to that. Viva Shop is open, so you can actually go to the Viva Shop, add the masterclass to the basket, and add your details, and I will send you a link to complete your transaction. Or you can simply visit the Viva website, thevivacoach.com, and buy your ticket on there as well. Now, the shop that you see, which is amazing experience in Metaverse, is by Immersal Services. And Immersal is a great way for businesses to connect with customers in this metaverse space. So I do want to actually give out a huge shout out to Immersal as well, Mark Immersal. And the website for him is www.immersal.com. Follow their journey, go and find out more about what he's doing in this space and how your businesses can benefit from this as well. And of course, this can also form part of your own business strategy in ensuring that you're staying connected with your customers in the metaverse all the way into the real life as well. So it's an amazing, amazing tool for doing exactly that. Now, I just want to thank everyone. There you go. We've got, you know, Rupert shouting out about it as well. So I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. Stay tuned for more episodes. Of course, each month there will be a Viva talk on business strategy later in the month as well. And we will be deep diving into business strategy, and there'll be a whole load of content on my page, Instagram page. But if you have visited this world for the first time, then don't forget to like and save the world as well. And this world has been built by no other than Meta Clean Rupert. So let's give a shout out, because it is a beautiful space.
Thank you.
And every
Thank
time
you.
I come in, I fill myself with light, because it is absolutely amazing, amazing space. So thank you so much for to everyone for coming along, joining me today. You can stay along and network with everyone. We will do a quick picture, if that's okay, perhaps just outside with Rupert and everyone in the room here. And once again, don't forget to look out for the winner of Boss Leo, the Diamond Resilience giveaway as well. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Create, love, inspire, and add value. Appreciate y'all coming.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rupert. That was amazing.
Man, that was